Let's move on to the South Central Hockey League. I love this league, and I don't think it gets enough credit. Mattawan was on the fringe of the top 25 last season, kind of in that 22 to 27, 30-ish range. But really, no one else in the league was north of 50 in the state rankings, according to my hockey rankings. Cap City was 36th, but they've opted out of the SCHL, and I believe will be independents for the upcoming season. I just think the perception from afar, if you're not familiar with this conference or these teams, you might look at them on the schedule or see them come up on the hub or state champs, and you'd be like, who? Huh? Well, it's just another co-op of, 5 or 6 schools, 6, 7 schools, whatever. But man, I'll be damned if these guys don't stun people around the state every year. And it's not just one team that does it. Cap City in the league last year beat a top 10 team in Cranbrook, beat Hancock, beat Grand Rapids Catholic Central, took Stevenson to the wire in a 3-2 game, took Lakeland down to the wire in a 2-1 game. All those teams are perennials in the top 25, in the top bunch, that top group of high school hockey. And it wasn't just Cap City. Mattawan beat Alpena, a top 25 team, tied Forest Hills Northern Eastern. We've seen that program do great things over the last 10 or so years. Almost beat Stevenson as well. Lost to them, I think, 6-5 or 5-4 in a high-scoring affair towards the end of last season. And then almost beat Granville in the playoffs as well. So Kalamazoo did beat Forest Hills Central in one of the biggest upsets in the 2025 playoffs last February. So if you factored in Cap City because they were in the league last year, the SCHL went 59-31-3 against non-league opponents last season. That's a 63.4% win percentage, which, again, unofficially official stats that I just made up, has got to be one of the best in the state comparative to other conferences. Winning your conference or your league is good, but how you perform in these non-conference matchups is a true testament, I think, for how you stack up on the statewide scale. And SCHL teams have obviously proved time and time again that they can compete. And you might ask yourself, well, why? There are programs, as a casual hockey fan, I'm not aware of there. I don't know of the East Sides and Portages of the world. Well, let me just tell you, it's because they are really, really good coaches in this league. Ben Miller, a second-year coach for Mattawan, a former player at Western Michigan. He's got the Wildcats just playing the game the right way, playing hard, disciplined, structured. Drew Moffitt has been at Portage, been the Portage head coach now for several years. He's another kind of chess player behind the bench, getting his guys to play sound hockey, manipulating matchups, and getting his guys to produce timely scoring. East Side, both Kalamazoo programs. These programs are sneaky, man. Sneaky good, and like I said, just doing it, quote-unquote, the right way. Mattawan is your defending champs here from a season ago. And again, my pick to win the league this winter as well. Only graduated 6 seniors last spring, but I'd argue they were the 6 most important to this team, so it is going to be a bit of a challenge here for the Wildcats. A lot of work to be done if Mattawan is to repeat as league champs, but you do have guys like Ben Eddington on the back end. Gavin Weish is a good place to start there too in net. He made 19 appearances in goal for Mattawan and put up a 14-4-1 record in those games, and a save percentage just north of 90%. So having that consistency in net can help settle the nerves throughout the rest of the lineup, I think. You're looking to replace scoring. You're looking to develop some defensemen. Having a reliable goalie in net that you, again, know what you're going to get, I think gives you the ability to work through some of those other issues as long as you have that steady presence between the pipes there. And for Eddington, this is a guy who's been a standout in the MDHL thus far in the fall. Was a tournament team kid for them last weekend on the 16U team that I believe went out to Minnesota. He had 9 goals and 19 points as a sophomore, and 2 goals and an assist in 6 MDHL league games this fall. So he's also a pretty dangerous scoring threat from the back end as well, capable of going end to end. It's not something I always want to see out of my defenseman, but the fact that he's capable of doing it and creating offense off the rush certainly makes him a weapon there for Mattawan. Portage is certainly going to be a problem in this league, though. You know, if you check out my players to watch on Instagram in pdspicks.com, the Muskies have standouts at all 3 levels of the lineup. You know, I got Ethan Rule up front, may have the best shot in the SCHL, super quick release. Now, you might say, you know, if he's got such a nice shot, why did he only score 12 goals last year? And I'm glad you asked. I mentioned earlier, Portage, the style of game they play, it doesn't necessarily produce the stat stuffers like you might see elsewhere around the state. And that's okay. You know, Caden Stashenko was a stud last year for the Muskies. And he was just over a point per game guy. Ethan Rule isn't kind of in that same category for me. Just plays the game the right way, does the little things, a guy that you just want in your lineup, period. You know, you got him up front. You got Evan Kakabiki on the back end. He's a top defender for Portage and is just a junior still. You also got Lee Laporte in goal, a 4-year senior who's played in like 65 varsity games in his career with a career save percentage north of .930. That's an absolute weapon to have in the SCHL. You know, I was crunching some numbers real quick. I was looking at some of the active scoring leaders and who's played most games and things like that. I mentioned Laporte and his 65 varsity games. That's second to only Cully Hayes for most games played by any active goalie in Michigan high school hockey. So a lot of experience there between the pipes and still another year to go. So if I was a betting man, which admittedly I am, I'd probably say Portage is the odds-on favorite to win just because of, like I said, some of those standouts that they got. But I'm not sure they've ever won this league either. So I'm going to stick with my initial pick of Mattawan to kind of repeat as champs here. But it's going to be a dogfight between those two. And don't sleep on Kalamazoo United either. People have been in my ear about KU for 2 years now. I mentioned it last year that KU was going to start climbing the league ranks there, that they were going to beat Kalamazoo in that big rivalry game, and they did not once but twice last year. I think they're going to continue that climb. You know, looking at, I think I said on last season's preview of the league, leading scorer Brady Penny is the real deal. You know, a true goal scorer who back checks, plays defensive hockey, blocks shots, gets his teammates involved in the offense as well. I love that. Some of these guys who feel like they got to carry a team in order to have success end up playing selfish hockey, end up keeping the puck on their stick a little too long, forcing plays, getting into trouble. Penny is a guy who just flat out plays the game the right way. If I'm supposed to hit the guy on a breakout, I'm moving the puck to the half wall. If I'm supposed to kick it out to the wing and drive the net on a line rush, that's what I'm going to do. That's the kind of player Penny is. And if he can continue to bring the rest of that group along, KU could be really scary in the SCHL circles. You know, I mentioned they beat Kalamazoo twice last year. They beat Portage, almost beat Eastside on 2 separate occasions. This is a team that's very much going to factor in to the SCHL equation there.